Hello, everyone. My name is Tim Selden. I'm the president of the Montessori Foundation, and this is our weekly broadcast, Finding the Perfect Match. It's aimed at people just like you, heads of schools, admissions directors, anyone involved in recruiting and retaining our ideal enrollment. We are the Montessori Foundation, but we speak something other than Montessori. We love Montessori most of all, but we also love Episcopalian schools, Christian schools, Catholic schools, Reggio Emilio schools, Quaker schools, you name it, we are here for you. And with me is my dear friend and colleague, Clint Lausch. Clint was for many years involved with digital marketing for a major national school consulting firm, one that I very much admire, Independent School Management. He went out on his own a number of years ago and has a great school marketing agency and service called AIMS. It's also part of the Montessori Growth Suite if you're on the Montessori side of the family. Clint, let me turn over to you because I think you're not only going to do a quick promo of who you are, but also you're the primary talent today.
Cool. Appreciate it, Tim. Yeah. We have the all-in-one, marketing, admissions, billing, software, and it accomplishes a lot. And one of the key components of it is we actually have an ad platform in there. And I bring that up. And when I say ad platform, it connects to your current ad account and allows you to do some cool things with AI. And we could talk a little bit about that. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because we have hundreds of schools using this ad platform. And the nice part about having the software, I get to see a tremendous amount of data. Talking with schools, I see so much data. And from that data, we can identify what's working best. Not every campaign works by any means. That is not going to happen. There are many factors that go into winning ad campaigns. And by the way, I probably should have elaborated. We're going to talk more about Meta today. We should probably have one on Google Ads as well. We'll talk more about Meta today. But there's a lot of variables with Meta, whether it's creative or who you're targeting, what landing page you're sending them to. And so there's a lot of factors that can influence an ad campaign. And probably the number one question that I get from schools on a weekly basis is, how should I launch this campaign? What do you think about this? We're not seeing registrations from it. How should we update it? So it's really important to just know some of the key things to look at in a Facebook ads campaign to know, is it working or not? And if it's not, when do we change it? When do we turn it off? What should we change? And also when to know, when should we just leave it alone? There are times where you just should not touch it. And we're going to go through that. Um, and Amanda, I know you're the lonely one on here, and I'm not going to sit here and just keep putting you on the spot. I just wanted to ask, are you currently running ads by chance, or have you looked at running ads?
Running ads, yeah. So the way what I'm doing is running boosted ads on social
Mm,
media and with a couple local like family bloggers. For
gotcha.
example, there's a place called Madison Family that we run like blogs and ads simultaneously with.
Okay, that's good to know.
Hmm.
I'll talk about the difference there. And let me just ask, uh, has anything ever come up, questions, campaigns you've ever run, let me step back and say, is there anything
Hmm.
top of your mind when it comes to advertising, whether it's boosting or campaigns, that you've ever looked at as, um, hey, should we run this campaign? Is this campaign working? Just out of curiosity, because we can kind of gear the conversation towards any issues you ever run into with ads and how to improve those. But just out of curiosity, I was wondering, in your experience, has anything given you trouble when it comes to Facebook ads?
No, I guess like the main thing is I'm wondering and I'm assuming that have we gone away from print at media and print ads, and is it not worth it to put your money into that anymore? I asked just because we're a really small nonprofit school, so we have to be really
Yeah,
mindful about where we put our advertising dollars. Um, and I've only been doing this 3 years, so yeah, I'm not sure where the landscape is right now with print. Is it worth it to
sure.
do print ad anymore or no?
Tim, do you have any opinions on print these days?
I do, Amanda. I mean, in
Hmm.
general, print has gotten very expensive. For
Yes.
example, do you know our magazine, Tomorrow's Child?
Yes, we get it.
Okay. Well, there are people who really appreciate having the physical tomorrow's show. There are other people
Yeah,
that can't even imagine wasting paper.
right.
It's very expensive to print and ship
Hmm.
anything, whether it's a paper catalog from, the Jail Bean Company or Sears Roebuck. I mean, it's hard to do it. And yet there are companies that do it, and there are people that really value something you can hold in your hand. There are print media like Madison City, magazine, where
Right.
it might
Yep.
be worth it. Um, so what you've got to look at is, in my opinion, the cost of being present, the cost of not being present. So, for example, if every other school is in there, probably
Hmm.
it would be foolish to not have at least a small ad. On the other
Hmm.
hand, if it's going to cost you $2,000 for a single issue,
It's
one of the
expensive.
things that's true is people need to see things again and again and again in general, unless they're actually in the market looking for you, in which case, a single ad, it's like, an act of sowing a seed and it germinates right the first time you put it down. But in general, what we do is we sow lots of seeds in hope that some of them come up.
Hmm.
So I think with print, I believe that most companies have gone away from it. The people that are doing it are generally the most successful and large companies, the really big doctors, the really big schools, the really big furniture stores, whatever. And if you're a family magazine, you got to look at, again, what's the nature of the magazine? Is it one of these low cost paper? Everybody's in there, and that's where people find preschools. In which case, I'd say, yep, you got to be there. On the other
Hmm.
hand, I would always do digital advertising because that's where you're the most likely to get people who are not currently looking. It's a real difference. So the reason why we do Google is when someone goes to search, they usually go to Google, and that's how they find us.
Hmm.
Whereas a Facebook ad shows up in front of them when they're not expecting it. And that's how
Okay.
you get people, they associate your school, your brand in their head with, oh, when I need it, or someone asks me, where would I send a kid to school? They know the name of your school.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and here we go. I'm glad you asked that question because that's probably the best place to start. I was going to kind of just start diving right into meta ads, but it's like we have a lot of different channels at our fingertips, and the question is, what should we choose, right? So should we do print? Because here's the thing, it all works. Print works. You can go get a billboard, it would work. You could do a radio ad, it would work. You could do Google, you could do Facebook. I was going to say you could do TikTok. Every school I've seen so far do TikTok hasn't really worked very well. So, but they all work to a degree. The real big thing is what you're alluding to is an opportunity cost, right? If we're going to spend $1,000 here, that means we can't spend $1,000 over there. And if that's the case, are we making the best use of that $1,000? Look, in general, if you're looking at your budget and even without data, because where I'm going with this is like, oh, we want to track it, we want to know what's working. We'll talk about how to do that. But if you were just like blank slate right now, I don't have data. I need to put this money towards something. Doing it on Facebook and Google is going to be your best option to start with, right? If you've got money burning a hole in your pocket, and you're like, we got more money, we're going to put it play. Yeah, then you start diversifying your channels. Maybe do something print. Maybe pay for that niche.com package or whatever, which is like $10,000 plus. I get asked about that all the time.
20,000.
$20,000. There you go. So I get asked about it all the time. Should we spend that $20,000? I was like, well, I'm not saying no, but there's probably things we should do first, because you're going to get more bang for your buck. And the other cool thing is about Facebook and Google, besides getting the most bang for your buck, you're also able to track it a whole lot better. So if we're having this conversation a year from now, it's great to be able to go back and look, hey, we spent this much money here. This is how many clicks we've got. This is how many people actually register for that event or booked a tour or applied or even enrolled. It is a lot easier to get that data from your Facebook and Google platforms than it is from a print publication. Now, how do you can still do it from print or some other third party. You just have to set up some tracking mechanisms to do that, whether it's QR codes and you're tracking the URLs. So that's I'm giving you the wave the magic wand scenario of being able to track. So um, moving forward, for anybody watching this as a recording, always think about, can we track this or how do we track this? Because I've also been involved in a lot of conversations where, yeah, I just had a board meeting and a board member said we should think about doing those radio ads or those print ads. And at my first reaction was like, maybe not based upon your budget, but that's usually an uphill battle to have. So you could just say, fine, let's do it with a portion of the budget, but let's just track it. And that way we know moving forward, what should we do? Hey, last year we did that, the print magazine, or we sent out flyers in the mail. Did it work? Well, you look back, you have the data, and you might find like, hey, it didn't work. Where I see print doing really well, by the way, right now, and I guess with a defined print, I'm gonna say for right now, direct mail type of print, but there's also like print magazines and print publications. But let's talk about direct mail because that's another big one. Like what one thing I would not do anymore is probably just like go buy a list, send it to everybody in a 20-mile radius, and you hope you get something. That gets really expensive, super expensive.
Yeah,
So
we did that for a while at one point, and I don't want to go back to that.
yeah, it's expensive. If you're going to do print,
Mhm.
um, I would do it very targeted, meaning I would look back over the last couple months, who's in my database, and just mail them. So you could run a Facebook ad, reach tens of thousands of people, get their contact information. Now, the only reason you have their contact information is because you know they're interested potentially in your school. Then go mail them at some point, a month from then or 2 months from then, and it just becomes another touch point. So I'm not opposed to doing that, but by default, you tell me your budget's 500 a month, 1,000 a month, 1,500 a month, whatever it is. I'm saying you're probably going to want to start with Facebook and Google.
The one thing I would add here is you want to avoid what we call image advertising, which is what most schools historically have done, which is, hi, we're St. Francis Xavier School. We're located, at this location. We have these grades, great Catholic education for all um, since 1963. That kind of ad has some value, but it doesn't really tell the reader how you're going to change their life. And that's what people want to know. So
Yeah,
whether it's a web page, a letter, an email, an ad, a billboard, the most
it's
powerful
it's
stuff, this is the story I'm telling you.
it's a great point. I'm going to share my screen real quick. There's just a doc that I was putting together for this. Um, this is why I love AI. I had a webinar where I presented on these topics. I'm like, take this transcript and make it into a nice checklist for me. Um, and so, yeah, here. Okay. So this document is kind of like a checklist to go through of if you're running ads and you need them improve them or you need to get better results. But Tim, to your point, this is kind of what we're talking about here. And messaging is something that we've talked a lot about over the last several weeks, months, because it's a cornerstone of any marketing. Anybody can say, hey, yeah, we've been around for 50 years and, just give very surface level content. Now, let me go into the weeds real quick with you because I think this is an important thing to just know about Facebook, especially. Meta, Facebook, it has an algorithm behind the scenes. That algorithm changes very frequently. What worked a couple of years ago does not work anymore. In fact, it can actually penalize you. And so they have this new algorithm. They call it Andromeda. That's their new algorithm. And their Andromeda algorithm pretty much says, we will find your audience for you because we now have AI. We don't have to go into do all sorts of crazy targeting inside of Facebook or any of these other platforms. We don't have to do anything like that. All you have to worry about right now is the creative. And by creative, I mean the messaging and the images or videos that you use. And so right now, what Facebook wants to see, hold on, buddy. Go talk to mommy. I got a 3-year-old that just walked right into the room. Uh, okay.
Well, you just have your phone.
Yeah, mommy has it. There we go. um, Now, where was I talking about ads? Oh, the creative. So, creative wise, so what we're looking at here is you want to have a lot of creative with different hooks. What do I mean by hooks? I want you to think about who your ideal families are and what are they looking for. Is it a type of school? Is it the size of school? Like you probably hear from parents, why did they choose you? And there's not going to just be one reason. There's likely multiple reasons. Think about all of those reasons. Each one of those reasons should be an ad. So in any given ad that you run, it can have 4 or 5 different variations. And here's where that algorithm comes in. That's what Facebook is saying. Facebook is saying, give us it all. Give us all the different messaging, all different types of creative. Just give it to us. We'll go find your families and we'll actually match the ad with the persona of family we think will engage with it. So, one, to Tim's point, you don't want to do the generic, here's who we are, we have a great school, come and book a tour. That doesn't fly anymore. The other thing along those lines is I see a lot of schools treat ads, Facebook ads and Google ads, kind of like billboards where they give it one shot and they're done. One image, one message, you put it out there. Did it work? Didn't it work? So we actually don't want to do that. You want to have 20, 30, 40 variations out there at any one time. And the way that you do that is you can use the ads platform. Our ads, this is the reason that we have our own ads platform inside of our growth suite, is because it uses AI to create all those variations and mix and match. So it makes life a whole lot easier for the creation and the management of it. But in general, whether you're using our platform, whether you just log into your ads manager in Facebook, you can go and add multiple ads to any one campaign. And that is really the secret to launching a campaign. So if I were sitting down with a school today and we were saying, let's launch a campaign, great. I would say, let's get 4 or 5 images. Let's get 4 or 5 pieces of text. Each piece of text is targeting, it could be an age group. It could be a persona of family. Let's load that in. That gives us 25 variations. And then I would use what's called AI targeting. So you do not have to say, I want to target parents of kids of a certain age that live in a house with this much home value. Do not have to do that anymore. Those options are available to you in Facebook, but you don't have to do it anymore. And frankly, Facebook pretty much ignores those suggestions now. So that used to be like why Facebook was such a great ad platform, because you could do all that targeting, but the targeting has been gradually stripped away, and now it's just all pretty much AI. So that's how I would start any campaign. So if you ever say to yourself, okay, I run a campaign, maybe it's not working as well. Did we start with the messaging and the creative? So that's yeah, go ahead.
Great. Could you maybe talk about it in terms of, I think it'll be easy for me to understand if I think about it in terms of like one subject. So like, for example, re-enrollment season is coming up for us. So
Yeah.
could you maybe talk about it in that frame of reference of re-enrollment?
Would you run ads for re-enrollment?
Right. Or like just what you think.
I think what
About-
you mean is enrollment for the next year. You're looking for new applications.
Right. Yes.
Families that are not there.
Correct.
Well, the first thing is, if it were me, I would probably boost my ad spend when I'm in the heat of it, but
Okay.
you need to keep the fire lit all year long,
Right.
because it takes time for people to even know you're talking.
Right.
So, usually that's when you're going to put the word out that, we're now we have a few openings for great
Mhm.
kids for next year. This is who we are. This is how we'll change your life, depending on the size of your ad. And so you have to figure out, as Clint was saying, whatever your ad is, whether it's digital or print, and whether it's Facebook or Meta or whatever, you have to have a headline, an image, and a message that gets their attention. So probably just saying, applications now being accepted, that's not going to get people going.
Right.
If you think about it, imagine you're in Madison, you have a restaurant. How are you going to get people to come into the restaurant? Well, one is you could say best Chinese food in town. Another would be best Chinese food and free dinner for the first 10 people that show up at 6 o'clock. You got to figure out what is it? Money back if you walk away not feeling satisfied. Whatever you're going to do.
And I apologize, I cut out there a little bit. The internet froze up on me. But to confirm, Amanda, were you saying that like running ads to get applications in for enrollment, not necessarily?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I would look at this in two ways. And I would be a little bit careful with this type of campaign because, yes, just this time of year, I get a lot of requests that say, okay, I want to run a campaign to get more applications. Especially if that's on Facebook, I would be careful with that because it's really hard to run a Facebook ads campaign to get somebody to apply when they see an ad. It just is. So I would think about this in two ways. So let's say we're going to run an apply now campaign. Let's just call it the apply now campaign. I would have two audiences. So I would say audience number one. I'm just going to call this the broad audience. This is like, I want to advertise in the community and let them know, hey, you can apply, right? It's application season. But what I would not do would not say apply now in the ad. That is such a small audience of like, maybe there's people out there that are ready to apply now. What I would do instead is run to ad goes to maybe an event, a tour, an info session, something they can register for that they don't feel like they have to be committed. It's like, I'm interested. Yeah, I'll do a tour. Maybe I'll do a virtual info sessions. I see virtual info sessions do really, really well of getting families initially interested. They can stay at home 7 o'clock at night. They could turn the laptop on. They get some more information, and then you can convert them to a tour from there. I see those do really well. So if you're running an ad, I'm going to call this a cold ad. So when I say broad, really it means is cold, meaning they may know you, they may not know you, they may be interested in now, they may not be interested in now. But this allows you to gather. If you do it this way, you will still get the people that are potentially ready to apply, but you'll also get those that are maybe they're just researching. Maybe they're not ready for this year, but they're ready for next year. So that would be audience one. Now, does that mean we have to ignore getting people to apply now? So I would say there's an audience number two. This is your warm audience. They could say already in database, know who you are. Yeah, so essentially they're in your database somehow. They already know who you are. So what you can do in these ad platforms is you could say, okay, here's my database of families that have been in our system for the past 12 to 18 months. You can actually upload that list into Facebook or Google or these other platforms and run ads just to them. So now you can run an ad that says, hey, apply now. They know who you are. Maybe they've already been on a tour. They've come to an event. Then you can run this ad. The nice part about running this ad is very low budget. Maybe $5 a day. No, I was going to say maybe like $2 a day. You could run that. And you'll read, because you're not going to have tens of thousands of people in your database. You might have several hundred. You can reach them with $2 a day. This is going to be your main budget, whether it's, whatever it is, 500,000 plus per month, whatever your campaign is. So you're going to go out there, you want to get people in, top of the funnel, and then get them into your ecosystem. And for those that are in your ecosystem, you can just run ads to them, do it $2 a day, and that way you're in front of them. And then what I would email them. I'd put see your ad, so it becomes multiple touches. Does that answer your question? Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that does.
Great. Amanda, were you present for the workshop I did on guerrilla marketing?
Don't believe so.
If you send me an email requesting, I'll send you a link to the video and to an article I wrote that Clint sent out to everyone who attended on how to do it. As a
Oh,
small
great.
school, as a small school, quite often the budget is limited.
Yep.
So what you want to do is you want to leverage volunteer time and work smart.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it could be that you've got all the sales you could possibly use. On the other hand, most of us, you can never be too rich or too thin.
Mm-hmm.
You always need more.
Yeah, true.
Okay, Clint, I think today's topic, as I recall, is what do you do when the ads aren't working? Because we have one particular school that we've worked with, that we tried everything and just nothing was working. We couldn't figure out what was wrong. And then all of a sudden, we tweaked it and the phone began to ring.
Yep. Um, so that's a good place to start. And maybe what I'll do is this. I'm gonna put this up top here. Let's do normal text. So if we think about what type of ads can you run? So let's do meta ads. You can run ads to a tour booking page. You can run ads to an event registration page. You can run ads to an inquiry form, right? So you can send the destination can be different. Now, what other variables? You can have image ads, you can have carousel ads, you can have video ads,
Can you
right?
explain what a carousel ad is? Just for
Yeah, we've all probably seen them where there's multiple images or videos in one post. You just swipe left and right, and that's your carousel. They actually do pretty well. Um, and then oh, in terms of where they go, ads can also go to a Facebook lead form. So when you're looking at a campaign, you have to decide what's happening. Am I getting clicks, but I'm not getting tours or registrations? Or am I not getting clicks? Then before I have an ad problem. And to Tim's point, one of the things that we were talking about with the school, and I'm talking with a lot of schools to go this route is the destination, changing the destination. One thing I can say is if you send ads to a tour booking page, this is pretty. I'm just going to say on the more expensive side, meaning it's probably going to cost you anywhere from $750 to $150 to get somebody to book a tour. Okay. For an event, I've seen as low as about $30 to anywhere from about $50 to register for an event. Inquiry form, I usually, if you're talking about like a formal inquiry form, this is like 150 plus. This is usually more difficult to do. I usually don't recommend doing this. Um, Facebook lead form, $20 to $30. So this is important to know because when you run ads, you're trying to get somebody to take an action. The next logical question to ask is, well, how much is it costing us to get somebody to take an action? If I run ads to get tours, how much does it cost per tour? If I run ads for the big open house, how much does it cost us to get an open house registration? And one thing you'll notice here is, well, Facebook lead forms has the lowest cost per conversion, $20 to $30. To be clear about what a Facebook lead form is, essentially, if you were to click an ad, and we've all probably done this at some point, you click an ad, you don't go anywhere. You actually stay on Facebook or you stay on Instagram, and you're prompted with your questions right there. what grade level are you interested in? Are you interested in a tour? So you ask your questions there. And then after that, you can redirect them to like a tour booking page. But you're capturing the parent contact information right on the platform. There are pros and cons to this. The pro is it will drastically increase your volume of prospective family leads. This is one of the big things that we did for the school that we were really struggling getting tours and inquiries for. We switched over to lead form to really increase the flow. We got tons of inquiries coming in now. I'm going to call them inquiries, from the Facebook lead form. So that's the pro. The con is sometimes those could potentially be on the lower quality side because there's a lot less friction to take the action. Because when you click the ad, a lot of your information is auto-populated in there from your Facebook or Instagram profile. So that can be a pro and a con. Pro, less friction, boom, click, couple clicks, you've got my information. Con, what you'll actually find is some people even forget they filled it out. It's so easy that you try to contact them the next day and you're like, what form did I fill out? That happens. Hopefully it doesn't happen too much, but it happens. So this is one of those levers that you can pull that if you're running ads, and you're like, man, we're running ads, we're getting clicks, they're going to the website, but they're not doing anything. We're not getting registrations for whatever that is or conversions. One of the big fixes could be switch over to a lead form and see how that goes. I'm actually starting a lot of campaigns with this. And look, if we find out, hey, lead quality is not as great, we're not seeing a lot of families follow through. Great, fine. We start with less friction, we add more friction. So that's always a good rule of thumb when you're trying to run ad campaigns and you're trying to get parents' contact information. Start with less, add friction later once you feel like you can do that. So that's one of a big fix. The other thing is, I'll sound like a broken record, but it comes down to creative. Let's say, and this is where I want to start and before I do that, Tim, any questions or any questions on that, essentially about the structure of your ads?
I think the main message about the lead form is the parent that's clicking on a lead form may not know much about who you are and what you cost. And I think one of the reasons why the lead is not of very high quality is many of these people, one, they don't even know they filled it out. And number two, they have no idea who you are and what it's going to cost or what's involved. So you start trying to get them to take action and they realize this is way more than they're really interested in.
Yeah. And that's a good point, Tim. Like if you're going to do this, what I typically recommend is really strong follow-up system. And that can be automated emails and texts. That can be personal follow-up. I always recommend personal follow-up. So emailing them, giving them a call. So if you're going to do a lead form, the follow-up is really, really important. With some of these other ones, like if you get this campaign to work really well, I just run with this. Hey, you're getting people to automatically book. You just have to show up for the tour. And even though it can be more on the expensive side, it's not really expensive if you're getting tours and applications and enrollments. It's going to essentially pay for itself, hopefully very, very soon. And if these lead forms aren't converting to tours, then this can actually in the long run be more expensive if you're not seeing longer term conversions. So that's how to start looking at that in terms of figuring out, what should we do? Where should we send them? And along those lines, if you're looking at any sort of campaign that you're running, there are several things that can happen. And at the crux of it, this is really what everybody's going to see. You're going to run ads. Did they never work? Did it not work from the beginning? Right? And that's where you want to start looking at this. This is especially like, did it not work from the beginning? Or yeah, they worked, but now we're not seeing them come in. The last 7 days, 14 days, they're not coming in. We're seeing a decline. One of the reasons that you can see a decline in results for something, especially that was working at one point, is because it can be called what's it's named ad fatigue. same people are seeing your ads, right? And it's the same image, the same video. So they're going to stop clicking on it. When they stop doing that, it becomes more expensive to deliver them. So, and you're not going to see the results. Oh, we have somebody that entered the waiting room. I just want to say, hey, Suzanne. A small crowd today, but thanks for joining us. We're just we're right in the middle, just talking about how to fix some ads. So, yeah, you have to look at, was the campaign working? If it slowed down, why could that be the case? It's usually creative. So, and then when it declines, then what ends up happening is your costs are naturally going to go up. So these two typically go hand in hand. If something's not converting, that's where I come back to this. But usually what happens is you run a campaign. Like, I think about open house campaigns. I usually recommend running open house campaigns about 30 days in advance. That first week or two might be doing really well. Then all of a sudden, like, man, we're not getting any of those registrations anymore. One, there's two things I want you to keep in mind with any campaign. One, only change one thing at a time. You don't want to start changing destinations and your ad creative all at the same time, because then you're not going to know what the thing was that really impacted the campaign. But also, if you had something that was working already, then that leads us to point number two. Almost always it comes down to creative. I almost never touch ad targeting anymore. It always comes down to creative. The images, the videos, the messaging you're using. While if you go into run a Facebook ad, especially, it can seem like there's a million options to choose from when you go to run a campaign. Really, the most important thing is just change your ad creative. So, when I was thinking about a school I was just on a call with. We've been running campaigns together for years, and we have a good idea of the creative that works really well. But we had campaigns that just didn't work. Okay, new creative. That was it. No other question about it. It was just new creative. So that's where we get into creative variables, right? So have you been running the same ad for 10, 21, 30 days? I want to be clear. There is no hard cap on how long you can let an ad run. Depending upon your area, the population, maybe the type of creative. I've seen ad campaigns run for 2 months straight without a problem. I've also seen ad campaigns where they fizzle out after 1 to 2 weeks. So so that's what you want to check. Then there's a statistic, and I'll include this document for everybody so that you have it. But there's a statistic inside or a metric inside your ad campaigns. It's called frequency. That means how often did that one person see your ad? Did they see it 2 times, 3 times? Usually when you get above 5 is the point where you need to swap out creative. So that's another leading indicator that if they've seen your ad 4 or 5 times, it's probably time to start switching it out. That is just a plain old metric inside Facebook. You just look for frequency. It'll tell you the frequency of that ad. I actually wouldn't worry about audience comments at all. The other thing that we look at is, are your click-through rates declining? So click-through rates, it doesn't tell the whole story, but it does give a decent indication of the engagement level of the ad. Usually we like to see above 1.5% on your click-through rate, just as an average benchmark. So let's say yours is at 0.8% click-through rate. Well, what does that tell you? That tells you that ad is not getting people to stop scrolling. It's not getting them to click. Maybe it's too narrow of an audience, right? If you're running that ad that says, hey, apply now, I guarantee your click-through rates are going to be really, really low. But if you're running an ad for, hey, come to this open house, your click-through rate should be 1.5%, 2% or more. And I always say Tim holds the record for highest click-through rate and performance on a campaign, where it was over 10% click-through on the campaign because the messaging was incredible. So that's the other thing to keep a lookout for. So what happens? So when you see these things happen, they're seeing your ad a lot, click-through rates are declining, you're not seeing registrations. Comes back to kind of how we started this session, which is write some new initial hooks. Are you a parent looking for a school that does X, Y, and Z, that provides this? Are you looking, are you frustrated with that? Figure out what that different hooks are based upon your ideal families. Come up with 3 or 4 variations and do that with new images. All right. And then again, you can also change it. Try images, try videos, try a testimonial. You're going to hear me say this a lot. Try, 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 try. There is not one single way that you run an ad. There's best practices. I would start out every campaign kind of the same way, but depending upon your school, competition, your location, not everybody's campaign is going to perform the same, even if you have the same type of ads. So you're always going to be trying certain things, and then the data will tell you how well it's performing. Right. So I almost never change targeting anymore at all. It almost is always creative. Right. So other things to look for, parent mindset, again, that comes back into messaging. So you'll notice there's a lot in messaging. I think it is also important to know seasonality. So we've talked a lot about and you know what? I don't want to make any assumptions, but Amanda, you may have seen this. Suzanne, I'm not sure. I presented this a lot. I'm trying to remember like who's seen it, who hasn't. But let me just go to Google Trends and type in private schools. So this tells us what are the trend lines for how active families are throughout the year. Why am I past hour, 12 months, 3 months, past year? That's right. So we are right here, January 18th and 25th. By the time we get to March, there's a spike, right? So this tells us that this is when families are going to Google and they're looking for new private schools, new schools, schools near me. So this shows their interest over time. And it's pretty steady from now until Memorial Day in the May, but there's a nice spike here in March. So thinking about that seasonality could change your messaging as well, right? Just as if we were around the holiday times again with Thanksgiving, Christmas, right? Your messaging might want to change. You might not want the apply now messaging. You would want more about, hey, attend this info session, right? It's a little bit more passive. They're probably not booking tours as frequently, but how can we get them to get their contact information so we can follow up? So understanding the seasonality, especially now, what happens in the summer, what happens in the beginning of the school year, what happens over holidays can change your messaging because mindsets are different. And
You
I'll
also
keep
have to
going.
remember that families are of different sorts. I mean, you have some families that apply a year or two in advance. That's when they
Yeah.
start checking you out. And those are the most sophisticated. And then you have people that are what I would call the oblivious parents who call you in August and hadn't even thought about where's their kid going to school next year. And then totally separate, there are those people that enroll their child in a Primrose Academy or a Goddard school or a public school, and they realize it's not working and they call you in September or October. So all of those are different groups, and you got to figure out with limited money and limited time, who are you trying to reach and when are you trying to reach them and what seems to work for them?
Yeah. And let me see, can I add to? Oh, I can't. I never do it in here, and I don't want to take up too much time doing. Is there an eraser? To that point, Tim, I want to highlight here how I think about advertising in that sense, right? So think about this as your entire community. This is your entire community. This, and then we have this, right? So this highlighted area in here, this beautiful drawing, these are likely families that they're never going to apply to your school. They're not interested in private school or Montessori school. They're never going to be interested in applying. Fine. Then there's this other segment of, I call these the tomorrow families, meaning they may not be ready to apply today, which most aren't, but they could be ready 6 months from now, a year from today, 2 years from today. And then you have your today families. We're just going to pick colors. These are your today families, where very small segment of the population, they're ready to apply now. They maybe talk with a friend, a family member. They know they're coming to your school, so you could run an ad and they can apply now. And those are the ones that are really easy to get. Who I always want to target my marketing at are these families, the ones in the green, where it's a larger segment of the population within your community. If you market to them, you still get the folks here in pink. If you just market to the ones in pink to try to get the ones that are ready now, you miss out on the green. So understanding that, I hear it all the time. Yeah, we had a family take a tour. Their child wasn't even born yet. Like, okay, that's great. Get them in your database. Continue to follow up with them. Put them in your newsletter, whatever you have, and that's how I think about digital advertising. Is I want to advertise to the largest possible population of families within the community of our ideal families, essentially. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Let's see. I know we're coming up to the hour. Let me see what else I want to highlight here. Oh, by the way, thinking about pain shifting, like now's the time of year where families are also thinking about switching schools, right? Fall, everybody's really excited. They're back at school. Maybe it's a new school. By the time you get right after New Year, I know family communication starts to dip in general. That excitement typically has gone away. And for some families, they might be looking elsewhere. So being able to call out some of those pains in your marketing is really, really important to help out families identify or empathize with them and identify, hey, maybe your school is the right option. So if you call out some of the pain in your ads, that can really be attractive to who your ideal family is. Are you, thinking about the old big school versus small school? Are you tired of just being a number, right? Do you want to go somewhere where teachers know who you are, things like that? That's going to resonate with certain families. And are you tired of the school where they're trying to get you into Harvard in the first grade, right? And then transition to your solution. So understanding pain and the time of year can help with messaging as well. This goes back to messaging. Give me let me take a look. Yes, all school tours are free. I like info sessions. They do really well with ads. So I like to think about when I'm running ads as a low friction, like we could call them a micro offer, but it could be your core offer. Just not apply now because that is so difficult to run an ad for. Come for a virtual info session. I've seen schools have a lot of success with micro info sessions. On Tuesday, come to our info session about our financial aid program. On Wednesday, come to our info session about the athletics program. So you can have different virtual info sessions about specific programmatic features of the school. And you're doing that also really targets those families where they show up for the athletics one, they're interested in athletics. And then you can gear all of your messaging to them that way. Testimonials, audience variables. Yeah, I already talked about that. I'm trying to see if there's anything else, but I think we've covered a lot of this. Landing page. Oh yeah, let me talk about that. We always recommend that when you run ads, you send people to a landing page. Let me give you an example of one. Right, here's a school that was running an open house campaign. They finished up in December. Right, so instead of running an ad for an open house, instead of sending them to your website, you send them to a dedicated landing page that is singularly focused on getting that registration. So you'll see on this page, there's no menu. There's a form, what we call above the fold. You don't have to scroll to get to the form. Doesn't go any further than these pictures here, and this is it. This has been actually one of our higher converting pages at over 7% conversions. The average page will typically convert at about 1.5%. Landing pages usually are like 2 to 4%. This is a little bit higher. So my point there is, let's say you run an ad. You're getting clicks. You can see the clicks go to the landing page, but then you're not getting any registrations. You might have a landing page issue, right? It may not be, I know we've been talking about ads. You might not even have an ads issue. You have a conversion and a landing page issue. So look at any one of your campaigns. Where are you sending them? I can tell you, I've seen a lot of schools send add traffic to their homepage or their website. I would almost always recommend to never do that, because you don't know what the family's going to do. Are they going to click around? Are they going to? You want to try to get the conversion. That is one of the best things you can do from your ads. So having landing pages and looking at that landing page, and if you're not at 1.5 to 2%, then you have a landing page problem and not necessarily an ads problem. And as we talked about before, you want to fix one thing at a time. So look at your ads. First place I start is look at the conversion rate of this. If we're at 2% or more, I feel great. We're not going to touch this page. And then we start working on the ads. If that is low, I'm going to start working on the ads a little bit more. So as we approach the hour, I think those are the key things. You really can't go wrong with having lots of creative. All platforms work. Some work better than others. From an opportunity cost standpoint, I would almost always recommend doing Facebook or Google, especially if you have an event coming up. I really like Facebook for events. Messaging. Think about who your ideal families are. All of your messaging should be geared towards those different personas of families, not just one family. In one ad campaign, you could be targeting 4 or 5 different families. That is okay. In fact, that is what Facebook wants these days. And just have a lot of creative and always try new and see if you can do even better than you did last time. You're always testing. So I know it's a lot, and sometimes it can feel like a fire hose. I'll share this document with you so that you have it. Let me just get anyone with a link is a viewer. So I'll put this in the chat so that you have it. Any questions as we look to wrap up here? Anything we didn't cover that you were hoping we would?
Hopefully, the biggest takeaway is to understand that whatever you're doing with whatever platform you're using, whatever budget you've got to spend, you got to be paying attention to your metrics and is it working? I'm not a fisherman, but if you think about it, you're putting bait out there and you're asking, are the fish nibbling around? Are they biting? Is it working? And if it's not, you gotta in a logical way start trying other things, but not crazy. You want to, do one thing at a time and make note. This didn't work. This didn't work. This didn't work. Think Thomas Edison and I think it was 800 different filaments that he used before he finally figured out how to make a light bulb last.
Absolutely right.
That's what we're doing is we're looking for the perfect match because just making a sale isn't good enough. You want a family admitted in your school that will love you for who you are. They won't sue you because you didn't do what they wanted. You want a family that's not going to make your teachers cry, that's not going to eat up your head of school's time. You want people that really make you happy and who you make happy. That's our goal. And that's true whether you're a Montessori school or a monastery school or any other kind of school. Figuring out what will make you happy and who are you the most likely to make happy in return? And where do they live? All right, I guess we better call it a day.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody.
We'll see you on Thursday for those of you that join us for the Independent School Leaders Forum. I think this week we are talking about when your school needs to search for a new head of school or a new key administrative position. That's the goal of Thursday, and Dr. Lindsay Pollock and Clint and I will be leading that one. We will see you next week.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, everybody.